Steam curled through the air like a quiet sigh, wrapping around me as if the warmth could hold me together for a little longer. I reached for my towel when a soft knock echoed through the door. "Mom," came his voice. Low. Calm. Maybe too calm. I tightened the towel around me and frowned slightly. "Yes? Can I talk to you about something?" he asked after a pause. "It's about school." There was something deliberate about the way he spoke, like he'd rehearsed this in his head before knocking. I opened the door a crack, the steam spilling into the hallway like a veil, and saw him standing there with a textbook pressed against his chest. He was older now, his face leaner, his jaw more defined, his eyes shadowed from long nights buried in anatomy charts and medical notes. My son was in his final year of med school, chasing the same profession I had built my life around. In him I saw everything I once was, ambitious, serious, determined to fix the world one patient at a time. "What's going on?" I asked softly. He shifted his weight, glancing down at the open textbook. "It's anatomy. The exam's in 2 days, and I don't get why it's bothering me so much. I keep second-guessing myself." I stepped aside and gestured for him to come in. "Come, let's look at it." He sat at the edge of my bed, flipping to a page filled with intricate diagrams, muscles, nerves, vessels, the silent architecture of the human body. He pointed to one with a frown. "It's not the content," he admitted. "It's just, every time I study this, I start thinking about how people trust us, doctors, with the most private, vulnerable parts of their lives. I keep wondering how you do it, Mom. How you separate your emotions from your work." That question pierced deeper than I expected. I sat beside him slowly, keeping the towel wrapped tight. "You don't ever really separate it," I said. "You just learn how to carry it without letting it crush you. You stay professional, but you don't stop feeling." He nodded quietly, his brow still furrowed. "I thought I could handle everything," he murmured. "But lately, it feels like the line between caring and getting too involved is getting blurry." My heart tightened. He wasn't talking about medicine anymore. I smiled faintly, trying to keep the moment gentle. "That line gets blurry for all of us at some point. It means you still have empathy, and that's not a weakness. But you do need to learn how to draw boundaries." He nodded again, eyes thoughtful. "I trust you the most with stuff like this. You've always made sense of things when I can't." Those words, "I trust you the most," lingered in the air long after he left. When the door closed, I sat down, staring at the steam fading into nothing. My heart felt heavy. Trust is beautiful, but it can also be dangerous when two lonely hearts lean too much on each other. The truth was, our house had been growing quieter for years. My husband had become a ghost of a man who lived between airport lounges and business calls. At first I told myself it was temporary, that distance was part of his success. But one day I woke up and realized the distance had become permanent. I had grown used to dinners alone, birthdays celebrated over video calls, and sleeping on a side of the bed that never moved. And somewhere in that silence, my son started filling the space. He brought me coffee on long nights. He asked how my day was. He noticed when I was tired, things his father had stopped noticing long ago. It wasn't intentional. It was survival. We were both trying to fill a void left by someone else's absence. But lately, something in that closeness had begun to shift. I wasn't sure how or when. Maybe it was the way he started speaking like an equal, not a child. Maybe it was how much he reminded me of the man his father used to be. Maybe it was me, too tired, too lonely, too starved for connection to realize that I'd started depending on him emotionally more than I should. That week felt longer than most. He'd been distant, polite but quiet, and I tried not to read into it. But then, Friday afternoon, I saw his name appear on the clinic's online schedule. My breath caught for a second before logic kicked in. He'd booked an appointment, with me, for a professional consultation. I smiled at the absurdity of it, thinking it was probably another project or study topic he needed help understanding. But when he stepped into my office that day, I realized it was something deeper. He looked nervous, tired, haunted. "I need your advice," he said simply. "But not as my mother, as a doctor." His tone was serious, but underneath it I heard something else. Fear, maybe confusion. He began explaining a situation about a patient case he'd seen during his rotation. How the patient's condition reminded him of something personal. How empathy had started turning into guilt because he couldn't save everyone. I listened quietly. And as he spoke, I saw a reflection of myself 20 years earlier, standing in a hospital hallway, trying to hold my tears after losing a patient I'd grown too close to. "It's normal to feel that," I said softly. "It means you care, but caring too much can destroy you if you don't find a balance." He nodded slowly. "That's what I'm scared of. Losing control of what I feel, losing who I am." And in that moment I realized something. He wasn't just talking about medicine. He was talking about us, about how our relationship had started feeling blurred, how we'd started relying on each other for comfort we should have been finding elsewhere. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every corner of the house felt heavy with unspoken words. I sat in the living room, staring at the quiet glow of the lamp, thinking about how easily love could turn into dependence, and how, as a mother, I'd failed to see the signs. He had grown up under my shadow, my rules, my values, my approval. He'd built his life around my guidance because his father had always been absent, and in doing so, I had accidentally become his entire emotional world. That was my mistake. The next morning, I tried to make things normal again. Breakfast, chatter about exams, a comment about the weather. But he was quiet, thoughtful. His eyes followed me, not with resentment, but with a kind of silent searching. Like he wanted me to tell him that everything was okay, even if it wasn't. Finally he spoke. "Mom," he said softly, "do you ever feel like you've been carrying someone else's emotions for too long?" I froze. He wasn't accusing me. He was confessing, sometimes, I admitted. It happens when you love someone deeply. You start trying to fix their pain, even when it's not your job. He gave a small, sad smile. "Yeah, I think that's what I've been doing. With you." The honesty in his words nearly broke me. He continued. "When Dad left, I tried to be there for you. I wanted to make things easier, but somewhere along the way, I think I started losing track of what was mine to carry." Tears burned behind my eyes, but I forced a steady breath. "That's not your fault," I whispered. "That's mine. I should have protected you from that. I leaned on you when I shouldn't have. I made you grow up too fast." He looked down, his jaw tightening. We both did what we had to do to survive. And for the first time in years, we didn't speak as mother and son. We spoke as two human beings who had been trying to heal each other's loneliness. And in the process, had blurred the lines of what love was supposed to look like. That conversation changed everything. Over the next few weeks, we began rebuilding boundaries, awkwardly at first, but sincerely. We talked more openly, but also more carefully. I encouraged him to spend more time with friends, to go out, to reconnect with his own life beyond our shared orbit. And for myself, I started therapy, something I'd avoided for years because doctors always think they can fix themselves. I realized I couldn't be the foundation for everyone else if mine was cracked. In therapy, I learned that loneliness doesn't always come from being alone. Sometimes it comes from being unseen, even by the people who should see you most. And when that happens, you start accepting affection from anywhere it appears, even from those who shouldn't have to give it. My son had seen me, my fatigue, my vulnerability, my strength. And instead of just seeing his mother,